Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm David Knight. It's Monday, September 21st, 2015. Here are our top stories.
Tonight, another one bites the dust. Scott Walker is rumored to join Rick Perry and others who have left the presidential race. After that, the liberal media promotes pedophilia as a lifestyle choice. And the Pope is set for his U.S. tour. That's next on the INFOWARS Nightly News.
He's got the mainstream media backing him, saying how great he is, when you notice the mainstream media was savagely attacking the Catholic Church at every angle until this point to blackmail the church that had its own problems that we exposed into going along with the agenda. And you can search Catholic Church blackmailed, pedophile scandal, rat singer.
The core of what's going on. They are observing us now, Alex. You have to understand, everything that we are saying is being monitored.
We've reached a critical juncture in the globalist program. That's why we're launching Operation Money Bomb 2015. And with the money we raise from this, we will be able to stay on the satellites and get on cable stations across North America, reaching tens of millions of more people right at the time they're receptive and looking for answers. So join us this September 16th and 17th. We're charging up, getting ready, and going in.
Breaking news this afternoon, the top of Drudge Report, we see that there's speculation, actually leaks, that Scott Walker is going to walk out of the GOP campaign. It certainly looks like it based on his position in the poll. The article was from the New York Times. They say Governor Scott Walker of Wisconsin has concluded he no longer has a path to the Republican presidency. That's a polite way to say what Donald Trump is going to say, loser. That's exactly what's going on. Now, these are a couple of people who spoke on condition of anonymity. They say the short answer is money. Not principles, not solutions. Those things are not needed. Actually, it's just money is the only thing that's really important. This is really nothing but a celebrity Big Brother contest. And now we have the next contestant coming out, polling out once a week, just like we saw with Rick Perry. But they say that fundraising has dried up after the latest polls. He is now down at 0.5%. And so the question now is not even who's going to pick up his supporters. He doesn't have any. He would have a very embarrassing position of being in the second-tier junior varsity debate campaign if by the next debate. And of course, the interesting thing about this was he began as the experts' pick on who would be the front runner in the GOP. That's why polls, early polls especially, were still months away from the very first caucuses or primaries. That's why all this politics is really nothing but a ridiculous horse race where they haven't even gotten the horses to the track yet, quite frankly. But there's a lot being made about Carly Fiorina. She is the flavor of the day, the person that Fox News has been holding up relentlessly. And there are reasons for that. With her connections and what she is supporting, there's reasons that Fox News is pushing Carly. We have a report from the Daily Mail where they say that it looks like they take the charts of Donald Trump and Ben Carson and then Carly Fiorina after everybody has been trumpeting that she won in the last debate. And they say, well, the momentum is clearly on her side. This is all they will talk about. Of course, they're not going to talk about the fact that Carly shamelessly grandstanded with the death of her stepdaughter, trying to portray that as a failure of marijuana legalization when her stepdaughter, who was in her mid-30s, died it was 2009, so she died 38 years after the war on drugs. War on drugs didn't help her because it wasn't even addressing alcoholism and prescription drug abuse, which is what she had a problem with. Of course, we've tried alcohol prohibition in the past, haven't we? It didn't work. But don't let it stop you that we don't have any constitutional authority for this. Now, the interesting thing is, will this last? Or will Carly Fiorina be another flash in the pan, just like Scott Walker? I don't think her background is going to hold up for scrutiny. Of course, she ran once before in 2010 and lost. She ran against Barbara Boxer. She was supposed to be the balancing act when people were going to vote for Barbara Boxer, she thought, simply because Barbara Boxer was a woman, so she was going to cancel that out. Didn't work out that way. But that's the strategy that she's portraying as part of her run, saying that she can cancel out the votes for Hillary Clinton because she, of course, is a woman. So she is kind of playing the feminist card in both elections. It didn't help her in the last election. And let's take a look at that, because the Washington Post this weekend had an article. This is the ad that could sink Carly Fiorina's campaign, because quite frankly, it is the ad that sunk her campaign for Senate in California in 2010. They say Carly Fiorina is the new it candidate in the Republican presidential field. Yeah, it's time for people to start vetting her and not just look at her performance. What is it about Carly Fiorina? Well, take a look at this chart that they show on there. And they say, see how the red line starts dropping precipitously around mid-September? That's not a coincidence. The ad functioned as a sort of knockout punch for Boxer, even in a year where Republicans claimed victories all across the country. That's very, very important. Remember, 2010 was a massive victory for Republicans in Congress and across the nation. It was a sweep of Republicans, yet she still lost, running woman against woman. And Senator Barbara Boxer said it was the most mean-spirited race that she's ever been involved in. She says, here's a woman who ran against me in the worst year Democrats have ever had, and we still won in a landslide. Let's take a look at how Barbara Boxer defined Carly Fiorina in this 30-second ad.
As the CEO of HP, Carly Fiorina laid off 30,000 workers.
When you're talking about massive layoffs, which we did, perhaps the work needs to be done somewhere else.
Fiorina shipped jobs to China. And while Californians lost their jobs, Fiorina tripled her salary, bought a $1 million yacht, and 5 corporate jets.
I'm proud of what I did at HP.
Carly Fiorina, outsourcing jobs out for herself.
I'm Barbara Boxer, and I approve this message.
And again, as you see in that commercial, they talk about how she had devastated Hewlett-Packard. The 50% drop in stock, understand, is what happened to Greek banks during the Greek financial crisis. That's the proud record of Carly Fiorina as a Hewlett-Packard executive. But what troubles me, of course, and what should trouble you, are her connections to the military-industrial complex, to the police-state-industrial complex, to the war on drugs. She literally, well, didn't literally, but nearly hung a for sale sign on her neck at the debates. That's why Fox News is pushing her so hard. Now, she did actually prostitute herself in the 2008 elections for John McCain. Standing in front of a background of support for John McCain, she said, I have such great admiration and empathy for Hillary Clinton. She's incredibly intelligent, focused, tough, determined, empathetic for all the tens of millions of people that she was trying to represent in her quest to be the first woman president of the United States. Yes, that paid off for her. And then she has this to say.
And as a woman, I take great pride in the fact that Hillary Clinton ran for president. And I also watched with a lot of empathy as I saw how she was scrutinized, characterized, talked about as a woman. While I think women have made great progress in so many ways, I also know from personal experience that women in positions of power, particularly bold women who are trying to drive change, as Hillary Clinton most surely is, bold women in power are characterized and scrutinized differently than their male counterparts are.
You can see how shamelessly she's playing the feminist card. She says, bold women who are trying to drive change, as Hillary Clinton most surely is. Bold women in power. Okay, so the question is, what is the change that Hillary Clinton was trying to drive? Does that even matter? Or does it just matter that she's a woman, and because she lost to Barack Obama, you should vote for John McCain because he's got a female running mate and because Carly Fiorina is telling you that? You have to get past this identity politics, but she is running on identity politics. She is running on her devotion to the military-industrial complex and to wars anywhere and everywhere. Very sad to see her being pushed successfully by Fox News. Now, this week, beginning tomorrow, the Pope is going to come to America. And we talked about this a great deal back in July when he did the encyclical, a major step for a Pope to talk about climate change. He's been far more focused on climate change and on stopping capitalism than he has been concerned about the massive changes that are happening to the family, or about the investigative reports that have been done showing that they're using body parts in Planned Parenthood. The Pope has been essentially silent on that. Nevertheless, we're going to be covering this in detail with INFOWARS. We're going to be going to follow him as he goes from Washington to New York to Philadelphia, also promoting an open borders agenda, because it all ties together with globalism. Now, in the wake of this, we reported today that the Pope's visit will produce the largest security operation in history as the Marxist Pope meets in the UN. This is the Washington Post saying federal authorities are mobilizing one of the largest security operations in the U.S. history ahead of Pope Francis's arrival Tuesday, an effort that is straining law enforcement resources in Washington, New York, and Philadelphia. Hundreds of thousands of onlookers are expected to gather in all three cities to get a glimpse of the Catholic Pope. They say appearances will be at the White House, at Congress, a parade on Constitution Avenue in Washington, a mass in Madison Square Garden, a procession through Central Park, etc. Understand, though, that the key issues here are going to be when he meets at the White House, when he goes to Congress, and when he goes to the UN, because this is where he's going to be pushing politics. This is much more about politics and globalism than it is about Catholic values or traditional religion or Christianity or any of that. That's all being pushed to the side. Yes, there's going to be masses, but the real core of this visit, as he showed this summer, is going to be focusing on climate change as a means to global government. But the security effort is going to be massive. Listen to this. They say his Big Apple visit coincides, this is the Washington Post, it just happens to coincide with the 70th UN General Assembly. That's by design, of course, and not by accident. But they say, well, there's going to be 150 foreign delegates. It's going to create a virtual lockdown in portions of Midtown New York. Homeland Security, the Secretary Jay Johnson has designated the Pope's stops in each city as a national special security event. It's double top secret, folks. This is big stuff. This is equivalent to a presidential inauguration, a State of the Union address, NATO summit, Winter Olympics, or the Super Bowl. This is big, but every one of these sets a new record because our surveillance state, our national security state, continues to ramp up uncontrollably, just as our military adventures abroad have over the last several decades. It is ramping and spiraling up uncontrollably. They say, of course, the Secret Service is going to be one of the groups there. They're going to have crowd management, crisis response, air and vehicle traffic control, along with the FBI, the Capitol Police, Coast Guard, Pentagon, FEMA, and local police departments. Yes, it's a full-on, full-court press to show us what the national security state can do. It's so bad that people are concerned they're not going to get their iPhone. That's the only thing people can get concerned about. This is an article that was up on the Drudge Report. They say Pope Francis's upcoming visit to the East Coast may make it hard for die-hard iPhone fans to get their new iPhones, the iPhone 6S and 6S Plus. Well, you know what? It only illustrates just how over-the-top and insane this security is. And it also illustrates how most people could care less about creating a world government and taxing us for every single bit of energy that we use, which is what these people want to do. They want to devastate our standard of living. They want to shorten our life expectancy because when they take away your energy, that's one of the key things that ties, key predictors, a metric that ties to your life expectancy as well as your comfort. You think you're going to have iPhones and air conditioning if the Pope gets his way? No, he's already talked about that. And to give you an example of just how over the top and disinterested in the common people they are, take a look at this story on Infowars.com today. Cancer-stricken children and parents were ejected from a park near the White House. U.S. Secret Service ordered hundreds of parents and their cancer-stricken children out of Lafayette Square on Saturday night